Hello everybody. So on this video we're going to work on a step-by-step approach to drawing rocks. It's a great element to include in your landscape scenes, but I'm just going to help you with a style that I like, and then you can take it from there and create your own style. So let's start out with the first thing here, and to begin with, all you need to do, and you will have this somewhere in your composition, in your drawing of whatever you're doing, but all we're going to do is just make little rectangles or squares like that. We're just getting these representations. These are just rocks stacked up on the ground. Here would be the ground down here, and the rocks are stacked up. So then what we'll do is we'll take, let's say for example, we'll take this little box and we're just going to develop this box. In order to make it look a little more interesting, we'll just change the shape of it a little bit. And then we're going to put a line horizontally through it. And that's going to represent now as though it's like a piece of slate or a flat rock. So now we have a top surface, and then we have a side surface. So you can imagine that if you went back to all these shapes here and you start to define them a little bit more. Rocks are objects that are heavy and they fall in place and they lodge up against each other. So that's what you would be thinking as you try to draw this thing that depicts these rocks just naturally setting in the landscape. But we've gone from the rectangles that helped us with laying them out to now what we would do with each individual one. And the first one that we did is all we did was put a line down the middle, and we changed the angles somewhat from the rectangle that it was. Now we can take it a little bit further by just adding more lines. I'm going to make it bigger. We'll have that same line that goes across there. And now we'll just begin to shape it a little more. And how we're going to give it some form and give it some more rock-like features is we're going to add some contours to it. Like cracks in the rock. And just like when I showed on the tree drawing, the same thing applies with the rocks. Is they're rocks and there's no particular shape that you have to adhere to. When you draw people, even though every person's body looks different, every person's face is different, but generally speaking, you have to be anatomically correct. It's not so much so with things in nature. You have more leeway with things in nature. But by adding these contoured lines, now we have something more interesting. Now here's something I'm going to do. This is important, and it has to do with the lines themselves. We're going to pretend that the sun is coming from above, so this top of this rock, we're going to keep these lines less intense. They're going to be more like subtle outlines, but then down here, everything that's underneath, we're going to have it be darker. But we're not just going to have, we're not going to have one continuous line like that. We're going to have a line that's broken. We're going to ease up and then press down and randomly make a line like that. So all these lines give the rock some form and shape. Now let's go on to number 4, and we'll do the same thing. We'll have the rock, we'll have the contours, put the cracks in the rock, and then we'll have some darker lines down here. And then we'll get some shading and some texture. You can have some shadows down here. This will be, if I were drawing this rock amongst other rocks, then I might have other smaller rocks in the foreground, and then I may stack other rocks on top of this rock, but we'll give it some form and some texture here. Remember, we'll keep the lines kind of light up at the top. Maybe we'll just make a little shadow on that one. And you can put some of this texture up on the top. You can add in these cracks. I don't like the way all that's coming out, so I'm gonna just There we go. Can add some final little fissures and light little cracks that give it some texture. And we'll go over a quick review. You can start out with four-sided shapes, rectangles. Then you can change the angle of the lines to give it kind of a silhouette and put a line through the middle. So now you have a top and sides. Then you can further develop by adding contoured lines. And then finally you can, as much as you want, you could spend a lot of time here adding shadow and more value to it to give it more shape. There you go. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.